Welcome to a week in Pixelverse, where tonight we're talking about action games, and particularly we're harping on the idea that all action games are in fact rhythm games. That's right, it's not even a different genre. I'm kidding, of course, but it really stuck in my craw to talk about this when I was watching a recent video by a channel called What Culture Gaming that said that, it was a secret, that all the Dark Souls bosses are timed to their music. Particularly Dark Souls 3 had bosses whose attacks were timed to the soundtracks of their fights. And then they said something kind of crazy to me, which was that the only boss that wasn't timed to their soundtrack was the Dancer of the Boreal Valley, which is a notoriously difficult boss fight in that game, and was an absolutely inaccurate statement. A few years back, when the game first came out, the Game Theorist channel actually released a video deep diving into the rhythm and the music of the Dancer of the Boreal Valley, just to highlight what makes it difficult being a change in rhythm. Every Dark Souls boss, for the most part, follows a 4/4 time signature, which is the standard 4 beats per measure that you hear when playing most songs. A 1, 2, 3, 4, where the attack would happen on the downbeat. Or if it's a very fast boss, you might get a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 which is what you would find in most of the bosses in Bloodborne, where attacks are happening on each beat and the half beat in between. The offbeat, I guess, is another word for it. And what made the Dancer of the Boreal Valley a unique boss fight that was uniquely difficult was that it followed a waltz rhythm. It was 3/3, 1/3 time signature. I don't remember. But anyway, the rhythm was 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. A lot slower than that, but still a waltz. And it was because it was a waltz that players had so much trouble figuring out when to get in, when their opportunity to hit actually was. Because the player, too, their attacks are often on a 4/4 time signature. You could test this by picking up any Dark Souls game, or even the Bloodborne games, clicking a metronome onto 4/4, and then just spamming the attack button. You will notice that the attacks fall on the downbeat. Your own character attacks will follow a rhythm that matches a 4/4 time signature. And it really got me thinking that literally all action games, to some extent, are rhythm games. They follow this musical logic that basically involves enemy noises, patterns, and attacks versus your own patterns and rhythms and your responses to them. For example, in Devil May Cry, all of the enemies have a very clear visual and auditory trigger, and high-level players frequently just use the audio, the sounds that enemies make before each of their attacks, memorize them, and memorize patterns for dealing with those situations in order to prevent themselves from being hit. That way they can focus on what their inputs are doing, what their attacks are doing in front of them, without having to actually pay attention to the whole screen and remember enemy locations. You don't have to remember where the enemies are if you know their sound cue and you remember where you are on the battlefield, and just have a solution in your pocket for when that situation occurs. And the more I think about this, and I think to all of the different action games that I've played, whether they're character action games like Devil May Cry, light character action RPGs like Nier Automata, any of the Souls-like games, always have some kind of rhythm to them. And it's that feeling of rhythm that establishes flow while playing and makes it feel like a good action game. If you are a musically inclined person and you want to find out whether or not an action game is quality, basically just put on some gameplay and see if you can't establish what the rhythm of the enemy attacks are, or if you can't hear a rhythm in each of the enemy's attack patterns between when they make their noise, when they play their animations, and when the hitboxes, when the damage would occur from those attacks. Or do it with the animations of the player character as well. I'm sure it could all work out. If I remember correctly, if you look at Devil May Cry 5 with Dante's Balrog, I hope I'm getting the name of the demon arm, the devil arm correct there, because I got it wrong with my video that I made on Devil May Cry 5. But the flicker jabs, I believe, are all 16th notes. Basically just very quick, but still in the 4/4 time signature, just very, very fast 4/4 notes. The one thing that I'm kind of curious about, though, that I haven't given much thought to, is different kinds of action games and whether or not it still falls under this same theory that I have. For example, something like Dynasty Warriors, a Musou game, where the idea is to just run up and destroy as many enemies that don't pose any real threat as possible with as big attacks as possible that you can generate. But I kind of feel like the principle would still apply. Maybe not so much with enemy design, enemy attacks, and their rhythms, but more focused on the player and making sure each combo follows a similar rhythm, or at least can create a flow state by simply pressing buttons in a certain beat that makes sense to the character that you're playing. And I'm also pretty sure that any action game where you can't establish that sense of rhythm wouldn't be able to establish a sense of flow in the player, and thus wouldn't feel good to play. That infamous, when you get your hands on it and you can just feel the quality from the very first moment you start using the attacks. I think that esoteric something, that je ne sais quoi of action games, can easily be reduced down to whether or not movement feels like music without technically being music. So yeah, next time you're playing Dance Dance Revolution or Friday Night Funkin', just remember that in actuality, action games are exactly the same thing, and you should probably go play Dark Souls. Thank you for watching, my friends. If you liked the video, make sure to also actually like it on the button and hit the subscribe button as well, and I will see you next time. Stay true.